All right, ladies and gentlemen, one more time, we've gathered here in this digital safe space to meet each other for another friendly chat about our drunken disorderlies, our disordered lives, our disordered personalities, whatever you want, really. I mean, this is for you. Obviously, as we all know, it is 420 today. I mean, if you didn't know that, all you have to do is take a good look at the gallery view, and you'll get a pretty good idea of what we're talking about. So let me see if I can reach this here. Oh yeah, there we go. Get a little bit of red eye going on here. Um, we have excellent guests as always. We're going to be talking to him in a minute, but I'd like to introduce to you my co-hosts and absolute level people. So just look up, look way up. I mean, no, that's my line, but
Oh,
you're going to see my friend Lars.
I didn't see it down there, Bob. Wow, it's not too often I'm taller than and I'm higher than you, maybe two ways right now. It's a pleasure
Yeah,
to be here.
probably.
Happy 420, gentlemen. This is interesting. I was thinking today, usually we tell our favorite drunk and disorderly stories. So in my head, it was like, are we going to celebrate 420 with high and disorderly stories? But I'm not sure that high and disorderly stories are a thing, because do people get super high and fight? That's not like, that's the opposite of fun.
You can be pretty disorderly. You can be pretty disorderly just from getting stoned. I promise you that.
Weird. Oh, there he is.
But I mean, I don't know. I don't usually fight. I just look for the Doritos. I mean, if it's the battle between me and the cellophane, then yeah, I usually win. But
right. So just to let you know, we should probably all let each other, maybe this is a sponsor. We're not technically sponsored. This isn't a paid sponsorship. I bought this is from Honey Pot. I did the curbside service. I ordered online, then I went and picked it up. This is just called Daily Special, which is, I think, just their cheap sativa. Maybe their shake. It's just a can of shake. THC levels look pretty solid. And I'm smoking out of a classic high school convenience store pipe.
Fuck yeah.
What are you guys working with?
well, I guess I'm like hopelessly old school. I just have a dude deliver shit to my house because he's a buddy of mine, and that makes more sense to me. But I like to rock. I'm going to give a shout out to this company because they're pretty awesome. Red Eye Glass. So take a look right there at the little logo. That's Red Eye Glass. They make some pretty solid products, man. And this one here is my go-to weapon of choice. Little pocket pal. The protective case came for free, and they gave me a sticker. You know, because who doesn't like stickers when you're gnarled?
We have shared that. We've shared that pipe many a time. Yes.
Yeah, indeed. It's good. It's a good one, man. It works well. It does the job.
And of course, one of the people that we've shared that with is our other co-host to my left, right, to my right, Trevor.
Am I still over here? Are you going to send me the rope?
Here we go. Here, ready?
Okay, ready? Yeah. And there we go.
Yeah, if you're listening to this right now, you have no idea what we're doing, but we have a 4-square arrangement of us, and we're passing joints and passing pipes and bongs through the camera, through our virtual reality lockdown isolation world right now.
If you're listening, you are imagining exactly what you need to be imagining.
Right.
Thank you for passing the torch.
Fucking stoned.
Right.
Yes, the Stone Bunch, I think they called it.
Maybe tonight we make the bong is like the conch, you know, the whoever's talking.
Yeah, well, because then when I pass it, it becomes something else.
Right.
Yeah. I've got the limelight here. Look out for the limelight, folks. This stuff is careful.
Intense, yeah.
What is it? Hybrid sativa?
No, it's just sativa, but it's over 20% THC. So like, fire you, like it's put on your mitts. Like, this is not for your everyday. This is not for, this is like careful on your 420 if you're not a typical stoner.
Yeah, my buddy brought me this stuff called Death Bubba or something like that the other day. I don't know.
I think I've heard of that.
It lived up to its name, that's for sure.
Red Eye, I believe their slogan is I know high people in places, I think.
Nice.
I'm not sure, but it sounds like it makes sense. I mean, it makes as much sense as anything else does right now.
Took me a minute there. That will be the limelight kicking in.
Excellent.
But I'm really excited for today because it's 420, because we always do a show on a holiday. It always seems like our shows land on holidays. We always get thematic, which is great because half the show's written for us. Yeah. And I'm really excited to bring our boy here, PT Cruiser.
Yeah.
As he's commonly referred to.
Yes.
But it's super cool. Reached out and got him on the show. And I know that you and Bob are going to have lots to talk about.
Yeah, man, for sure. I'm excited to be here. I listened to the podcast the other day, so it's funny. Then you messaged me like 3 days later. So
what episode? Just our last one?
Nice.
No, I tried to listen to one from a while ago. That was when you guys did it live. So I was just curious.
Like a random one?
Yeah, random.
Dope.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's serendipitous. That's awesome.
Paul, of course, is an incredible stand-up comedian, actor, co-host of another great podcast called High on Trees with his co-host Natish Sakuja that they tape out of Corner Comedy Club. Are you guys doing those still, or like remotely right now?
Yeah, Natish and I will still do it. So obviously we don't have a live audience, but then we still sometimes do a live, but we don't record our live. And we still record a podcast every week, but it's just us, and maybe somebody will join us, you know?
Gotcha.
It's different. We've had live audience for 75 episodes, right? So it's crazy, the dynamic, but I'm excited. I like it. I like the change, you know? Change is good, donkey.
And it looks like you're quite the artist, too. I knew that. I knew you were a painter. What are you working with behind you there?
Yeah, what did you steal there, Paul?
What's that?
What thievery do you have behind you?
So right now, we can't do stand-up or anything. So my main focus right now is just painting. So I'm painting for hours every day. This one, I'm trying to work on like Roman architecture and the human body. So I just did a giant orgy here in a Pantheon. I don't know if I keep it sideways. Is there a way to flip it? Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, so it's pretty big. I can't get the whole thing. But yeah, it's real graphic.
Take us in for some close-ups and describe what's happening to the people listening.
So that's it right there, right? As you can see, you know, like some nice architecture. We got like some tiger prints up there. And then we got the pillar here, you know, even as you go in, my details, like you see the guy's face, and there's a girl, big old tits, and a peacock trying to smash. This girl's licking this guy's balls. These girls, you know what I'm saying? You got Medusa. This girl got all these statues, just like booty. And even like the animals are getting it in, you know? Elephants, hyenas. Lots of work to go. There's a lot of work to go.
It's beautiful, man. Everyone's having such a great time. That's the nice thing about that picture. Everyone's just enjoying themselves.
Exactly.
It's like Big Gal's retreat getaway.
I knew it was going to take a while to paint that. And I was just like, whatever, I had that idea. So I was like maybe painting it for 2 months. And then this whole thing happened. And it's just so ironic that I'm painting a giant picture of a bunch of people touching when we're not supposed to touch. So serendipitous as well, you know?
Right.
No, man, that's therapy. That's therapy. If you can't get out there and join the orgy, at least you can paint one at home. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. That's really what it is.
So eloquent. That's the soundbite of the night right there, Big Bob. If you can't,
you know, what can I say? Out of the mouths of giants, you know, what can I say? So Paul, let's before we get into what, you know, painting orgies, chronic masturbation, yada yada yada. Let's just I want to get let's get to know you a little bit here for our at-home audience who may not be as familiar with you. So where'd you grow up? What do you do? I mean, we know you're a comedian. We know you're a fantastic artist. And we know you're into orgies. So that's a good start.
Yeah.
You're going to go on real well with our fans because that's pretty much what our fans are into. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it's pretty much full stop after that, but go on.
Yeah.
So that's good.
So basically, I guess where it all started was just like having friends that played hockey. They were always down to like run trains. And then like, I started having friends that were rappers and like sold drugs, and they're also ironically down to run trains. So I guess the whole orgy thing probably started just with my friends who played hockey and my friends who sold drugs. You know, that's what I started. Is that what you meant? Like, where did I start orgies, or where did I start my life?
Actually, it doesn't matter. That's a great segue, so it makes no difference. For those of you at home who aren't hip or urban enough to know, running trains is just another word for straight orgies, okay? So don't worry, we got you covered.
Yeah.
I was being a little more colloquial. I was just, generally speaking, Paul, but that's okay. If you want to talk about your aberrant sex life for the rest of the episode, that's fine with me too. That doesn't bother me. You can't shock me, right? Like,
I know. I don't know. No, I'm just joking. Well, I'm not joking, but like I'm joking. I'm smoking. I didn't say what I was smoking. I'm smoking Astro Pink.
Nice.
Which is a sponsor, but I do like them. And I'm also smoking these things, these Fukushima. Have you guys ever had one of these Fukushima moon rockets?
I've seen those before. Those are like every type of weed, all like it's magical.
Yeah.
Explain it.
A giant joint of really good weed. It's dipped into shatter or oil, right? Of really good shatter oil. It's spun around, and then it's rolled in a bunch of crystals. And that's what you get.
Makes you an orgy.
That's a product for the crack smokers of weed. It's like, yeah, no man, I'll suck your dick for a moon rocket. Woo!
Yeah,
Orgy fest. Like, that's amazing. I love that. That's great.
That's classic human shit right there. Humans, we just can't leave well enough alone. We always have to level up and level up and level up and level up. Like we couldn't just chill and smoke a big fucking rocket of a joint. We're like, what if we dipped it in this? What if we dipped it in this? What if we added Bluetooth? Jesus.
Absolutely, man. Like my buddy has one of those Cheech and Chong shatter machines. It's like, looks like a Rube Goldberg machine made out of glass, and you hold the blowtorch to it, like the one I have on the shelf behind me over there, and just kind of, you heat it up till it's super hot, then you touch the dabs out of it, and honestly, it's cool, but it's way too potent, man. Like,
yeah, you get way too high.
You rip like 2 or 3 of those, and you better not have fucking plans. Like drinking 2 bottles of NyQuil and hit yourself in the face with a ball peen hammer. You're just done for the fucking day. That's it. Like, So, I mean, it's true, Lars, what you're saying. Absolutely. Sometimes, man, the potency of the shit we don't leave well enough alone. You're absolutely right. It's like mixing liquors together. Like everyone thinks like, yeah, we'll do 1 shot of this and 1 shot of that and 1 drink of this and we'll smoke some of that and then we'll do a little bit of this. That never works, man. That's like the wrong solution,
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also so good. It's so good. But, that's the dichotomy of life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As bad as it is,
just mixed.
So
Yeah.
Paul, I have a question. What would you normally be doing on 420? Did you have any kind of 420 routine or tradition, show-wise or event-wise?
Yeah, generally, it's one of the most busiest days of the year for me. And, everyone's saying they miss it. Like, my birthday was 8 days ago. So same deal.
Hey, happy birthday.
Happy belated there.
Yeah, buddy.
Thank you. So everyone's like saying the same thing as kind of like right now. They're like, oh man, sorry that you have to be inside and stuff. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's amazing. Having a birthday inside was incredible. I might get a hotel in Oshawa next year and do the same thing. I swear to God, it's amazing. You just get to sit in your room all day and get high and people just tell you,
Orgies in the schwa.
Good things about you. That's it. It's amazing. And right now.
Awesome ego fluffing too. That's great.
That's it. Yeah, so it's amazing. It's a warm feeling of a day. And then, right now, usually I'd be doing like 5 or 6 shows. I think last year I did like 7 shows, so I like that right now. I'm just able to just be high, and I'm playing NHL Be a Pro, NHL 12 for PS3, the Be a Pro mode.
Nice.
You have to be so stoned to play that. They don't let you switch it to 5-minute periods. It has to be full 20-minute periods. And when you're not playing, you watch from the bench. That's how realistic it is. Do you know how high you have to be? It's crazy.
Right. On your off days,
multitask.
On the off days, you got to hit the gym and you got to make phone calls to your wife back home.
It's literally like that. I got too many penalties in game, and I got a letter from the owner.
Right. I just got.
Shows about your real door.
The mini game that I want to see attached with that is how you shift money to your Zurich bank account to keep it away from your ex-wife, so you don't have to pay your child support and shit like that. That's the one I want. Like, you have 2 bimbos. one under each arm, and you're like, fuck that shit, I ain't paying the bitch. Zurich,
Yeah.
you know?
For sure. But this is only
Speak just enough
2012.
Swiss
Keep in
to
mind.
fucking get through the deal.
Right. I'm only playing 2012, right? Because I just have the PS3. So I don't know. NHL 20, you might be able to like fuck your wife's sister and just be full on like dirtbag, you know, just like classic hockey beauty.
Right.
You know,
It's
encourage your son to drink at 14, like buy alcohol for your 14-year-old son and all his friends. You can be the cool dad, just playing in the NHL, one shift a week.
And then at the end of your career, when you retire, you start to have concussion syndrome. So you got to deal with all the depression and anxiety, and bipolar, and you got a divorce because of it.
Yeah.
Just
let me out of this game, man.
Yeah. Man, I've always thought that hockey players are great. It's one of the few pro sports in the world, or we're pretty much any celebrity status, where the like crazed toothless guy isn't actually a hobo. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like normally it's like you go to the baseball diamond and you see a toothless guy, he's asking you for change. You go to the hockey stadium, you see a toothless guy, he's signing your shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally different. Amazing. Love it. I
think
I don't talk all about hockey, but I love it.
It's probably the only profession that would get away with that look. You know?
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think of another one.
Maybe boxer. And like
even boxers, they wear mouth guards, man.
Yeah, and even boxer, they're gonna say get it figured out, you know? Like if Floyd Mayweather was missing a few teeth, we wouldn't let him talk the way he talks.
True.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're a boxer without teeth, you look like an unsuccessful boxer.
Exactly.
I was gonna say, yeah, pro fighters who have all kinds of scars on their face and are missing teeth and shit aren't pro fighters for very long.
Right.
That's right.
Nice to say. Like I'm not a pro fighter, but look at this pretty face. They might be a
Yeah.
little brown, but they're all mine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That means my win ratio is a lot higher than my loss ratio, you know?
Yeah.
I'd like
100%.
to do a quick shout out. As you know, a lot of bars and restaurants are struggling because they don't have in-person clientele, but a lot of them are still doing takeout. So I'm drinking a Bone Shaker from one of our usual local haunts. Bob, you've been there. Trev, you and I are there usually multiple times per week. But Urban House, right near the corner of Broadview and Queen, right? The shawarma joint.
Shout out to Urban House.
So, yeah, they're open every day, 4 till 11 for takeout, including beer takeout with food orders. I think legally they have to serve you food and.
No, actually, it's kind of cool. They gave a special dispensation to bars because of this whole pandemic thing. Normally walking out of a bar with beer to go is like straight verboten, like that's against the law. But because people can't go out, can't do anything, they've actually cut the slack on that a little bit.
Really?
And I think that's kind of cool because that's sort of a gateway. It's sort of a gateway to letting us do that forever. And I kind of hope they figure that out because, frankly, nothing says awesome like getting ready to leave the bar and say, "Oh shit, man, I need a 6-pack of roadies." You know, that's awesome.
Right, and it's ridiculous that they're like, "Oh, we have tons that we could sell you," but they're like, "No," but it totally that you should be able to do that.
Well, I've always thought that our drinking laws are fucking draconian anyway. I've always thought that the way we sell liquor and the way we manage liquor in this country is just it's very pathetic. It's super Puritan for no particular reason.
But look at this now. If you think about this situation, nobody's allowed to, like, for the most part, there's a bunch of people that can't work, but it's way easier to get booze and it's way easier to get weed.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
What a world we live in. Trev, you have that.
Except none of us can fucking afford it anymore because we're all not working, all broke as fuck. Right. So it's like, oh, great. It's fantastic.
Yeah. The essentials have been pared down quite a bit. Yeah. So you can count them on one hand now.
So normally this is, most of these episodes, we get into a little bit of storytelling. Somebody shares a crazy fucked up story. Most times the guest would be telling their craziest drunk and disorderly story.
Yeah.
So Paul, you can do that.
I can do that.
Or you can skew a crazy party. Maybe it's a weed themed party or a crossover of weed and booze?
I have weed stories. I have some crazy drunk and disorderly stories. It doesn't really matter. It can be whatever, you know?
What were you thinking,
No, that's
Bob?
the thing, Paul. It's whatever you want, my man. This is your life, your story. We're here to listen to you, and then I'm going to talk with you about it.
Here, I'll tell a weed one, okay? Just because you said weed,
Do it.
I'll tell a weed one. I had another one in mind. Maybe we can do that one after, but I will tell a weed one. This is the first one that came to mind. So, like 2 or 3 years ago, me and who I do my podcast with, Natisha Kudra, we went on tour. So we went all across Canada, went to BC and stuff like that. And we drove both ways. And when we left Toronto and we were on our way to BC, we took everything with us. Like it was very paranoid at points because we had a lot of blow. We had tons of acid, mushrooms, like pounds of
You did a
weed.
Fear and Loathing trip. I see. Okay.
Right. Well, that's always how we are. Like that's how people expect that when they book us at shows, they know that we do lots of drugs, you know, and not just weed, right? So anyways, so we were just doing drugs the whole time. And then our last show was in Vancouver. And our plan was afterwards, when we were done, to drive back to Toronto in one go. But it was just me and him. And I don't drive, right? So we ended up doing that full drive in 55 hours. We took 2 breaks to take a 1-hour nap. I didn't drive, and he just drove the entire time. And when we had 10 hours left in the drive, we were down to, like, all of the drugs was done, and we were down to our last joint. And Tish likes to smoke huge blunts. Like I said, literally, he always smokes half-quarter blunts. That's all he smokes all day. So I even said, I was like, let's break that up into 5.5s or, you know what I mean? Something, and like make it last. And he was like, no, this is it. We'll smoke it, and then we're done. We got to wait 10 hours. So it's nighttime. I forget where we were, 10 hours away from Toronto at least, right? And we smoked the joint, and we put it out the window. And we're like, all right, that's it. Let's buckle in. 10 minutes later, we see the cherries, and we're like, all right, we're getting pulled over. And we got pulled over a few times in that trip, and it was not good. But this time, we're like, whatever, because we know for once we actually don't have anything in the car. So the guy showed up, and he was like, you know, I forget why he pulled us over. And he's like, just to let you know right away, when the window came down, he was like, I smell the marijuana in the vehicle. I can have the car impounded if there's any more. And we're like, well, there isn't. So take your time, look around. There's not. And he was like, well, I could have the car taken away even just for the shake in the vehicle. And we're like, no, we're fine. There's nothing in the car, right? So he runs our licenses. He comes back. He goes, okay. And we told him everything. We're comedians. We've been driving for 40 hours. He goes, I know your situation, so I'm just going to let you go because obviously you need to get home and you need to sleep. But just to let you know one more time, I should be taking the car away because of the shake that's in the vehicle. And we're literally so cocky because we know we have nothing. We're like, what shake? And this guy takes a flashlight, shines it down, and we look at our feet, and there's literally 3 ounces of shake because that's where we've been rolling joints for a month straight. We're not even thinking. And both of us, our reaction, literally, we just looked at each other and we're both like, oh, shit. Like the most stoner stuff. And he's like, yeah. So then we drove away. We drove away for 5 minutes, made sure he was gone, and then we rolled up more weed and continued on. I found an ecstasy pill down there, too. It was sick. So we did actually have drugs on us.
It went from Fear and Loathing to Super Troopers and then back to Fear and Loathing.
Right?
Oh, that's bloody fantastic, man. That's bloody fantastic. I know exactly what that's like, too. You're in the car. You know, I was on tour with bands for a long time, and, you know, one of the things we used to do, again, same thing, always just wrecked, constantly carrying way too much shit with us. You know, the one time I guess was pretty excessive. We were doing rails off the fucking dashboard while going down the highway. Right. And my buddy's like, grab the wheels so I can do one. He's doing like $110. And you know those little corrugated bridges over like creeks and shit you find all over like rural Ontario and stuff. And you know they have that little bump. Like you hit the patch where the bridge starts and the car goes boom, boom, you know, and then you're on the bridge. Yeah. Well, we hit that at $110 and he's leaned over like this and I'm reaching across him holding the steering wheel and the car goes woo and starts losing direction. But I don't know. We could have killed ourselves 100 times on that trip just being ludicrous like that, you know, just ridiculous. I was thinking when you said, when the cops were like, well, why'd you pull us over? My first thought was, well, I don't know. You've been driving for 50 hours. So I'm sure there are no key signs here. Like, you know, the guy in the car be like, it's backcountry. That didn't clue you in. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Right?
You guys, he hit a bump doing a bump.
Yeah, it almost killed him.
Right?
This is the same guy. This is the same guy who 3 weeks later lost his license and his corporate car, the company van, because he backed into a cop car after driving forward into a parked 18-wheeler. So the cops were following him nice and slow, and he didn't see them behind him because he's completely fucked. Comes around a corner. There's a fucking 18-wheeler parked on the side of the road. It's just a residential street in some fucking town. He slams into the back of this fucking parked truck. I mean, how do you miss a fucking 18-wheeler parked? I don't know, man. But anyway, he misses it. And then he goes, oh, shit, I got to get out of here. So he drops it in reverse and slams down the pedal, reverses right back into the cop car sitting behind him. So he's in a corporate company car, you know. He works for some cleaning service, something. They have these, you know, these like white vans with logos. So anyway, we get this call from our buddies like, yeah, I can't pick you up at the festival because my car got impounded and I'm in jail for the weekend. And I'm like, is this your call? Like your call? And he's like, yeah, I figured I better let you know. And I'm like, well, I don't care. Well, that's good. Thanks. We'll get a ride. Don't worry. Like, why are you calling me? And he goes, oh, because the bass player has the rest of my stash. And I'm like, are you sitting in a police station? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, click, just hung up the phone.
Right.
Nice.
I was like, are you fucking kidding me, man? Like, but talking about stoned weed stories, it's funny. I just remembered, Lars, where you are right now in Laughing Viking Studio. I have a story about that building.
Me too, actually.
Interesting. I just, before we get into that, I want to say, speaking of bass players, we have one of the world's best here. I got to shout him out. My brother from New York City.
Yeah.
Bring him on. I'm going to unmute him.
Yeah, buddy.
If he wants to unmute. So now this is an international 420 show right now. What up, Chris, a.k.a. Bumpus Ballfields? Welcome, welcome. Nice.
There he goes.
I can't see him.
20 on 420. That's like Beetlejuice.
Right.
Yeah, seriously, that's right. Rumpelstiltskin, Rumple Foreskin, here we are.
Right. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Your audio is very low. We can barely hear you. But, there he is.
Yeah.
None of them, he's in the front lines. The depths. It's hard to get the messages out of there. They're cutting the wires.
Right. Yeah.
That's it, right?
So Paul, Chris lives in New York City. His place is a block, literally across the street from Madison Square Garden. So he's in like the epicenter of all this right now.
Yeah.
Look at my Instagram later, and I sneak out every day for a couple hours and take pictures of the empty city, but there's nobody out. Every business is closed. I mean, it's just really utility workers and food places, like restaurants, some restaurants and grocery stores. But it's
crazy because that's what it's pretty much like for us, but we're on such a low density that just for you to see it there, it's just unreal. Like it's just
I took pictures today of places that I've never seen the neon signs turned off ever.
Right.
Wow.
Crazy.
Years I've never seen, like even on like the what do you call it, New Year's Day, there's more traffic on the streets than there is right now. Like nothing, nothing can be open. Just select coffee and food shops, and that's it. There's nothing
Crazy.
else that's open.
It's amazing. It's amazing in times of terror like this, in times of absolute fear and adversity, the little things you notice, like the emptiness of public places. You wouldn't really realize that until you were, in somewhere where there's always 1,000 people and there's like nobody.
Yeah.
That's when it becomes super bizarre. I mean, I had the same experience the other day. I was at the park near where I live. It's a dog walking
Arrest
hub.
him.
Yeah, well, they almost did. They stood up on a fucking quad and told me you can't sit on this park bench. To which I laughed and said,
if you stop to get your breath for a second, they'll jump on you.
To which I laughed and said, yeah, but to arrest me, you've got to touch me, and I might be sick.
Nice.
And
nice.
the guy fucked off.
Yeah, you turned it down on him.
Right? I was like, come on, I'll just lick my hands a little bit, and then we'll wrestle.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I'm good. Fuck off. And I was like, exactly. Beat it.
Yeah.
But it's weird, though. Like I said, the place is fucking, it's a ghost town, man. Ghost town. So I can only imagine what a location like Madison Square Gardens, where there's absolutely nobody in New York City downtown. You know, those iconic pictures you see of hundreds of thousands of people walking through Times Square and shit like that. And now there's fucking like, you know, one hobo jerking off by himself. It's crazy.
No, there's more than one hobo. There's way more than one hobo jerking off still.
I don't know. I was gonna say I only count the ones that are jerking off. So as long as there's more than one, then I guess we're okay.
Right. So Bob, you wanted to tell were you gonna tell a weed story?
Yeah, I was. It's actually kind of a weird, it's a rock and roll weed story, so I guess it's pretty classic. I was working at the Opera House at the time. I worked there for a number of years as one of their security, and eventually became like their sort of, you know, most senior security guy for a little while before I fucking found better and brighter things, or just, well, that's not true, other things. So I was working the show. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the band Biohazard.
No.
Yeah, they're a metal band. They're pretty cool, but they're just, you know, they're a metal band. They're all right. Awesome guys. And oh, sorry, we got a text in there, and I have to respond to it. No, actually, it's a hell of a lot better when they are jerking each other off, because then it's a team effort, and it's also brevity, and we like brevity on this show. So back to the story. I was working this event, and Biohazard was playing, and this woman shows up at the front and asks to talk to someone who, you know, it has some authority. And I was like, well, I guess that's me. What do you want? And she says, look, I work for a magazine publication. I'm not even sure if they're still in publication anymore, called Rue Morgue. And Rue Morgue used to have their offices basically right downstairs where you live, where the studio is now, where Vikings is now. And they had the whole building. Yeah, exactly. It was a very different layout inside at the time. There was stairwells going upstairs. It was a big, wide open space down there. And they were a gothic horror magazine. So the whole place was full of like weird suits of armor and like creepy vampire, you know, paraphernalia and all this cool shit. But anyway, it just so happened that they were hosting a cannabis cup party that night. And so she says to me, if you can get the band to come after the show to this party, I'll let you and your security dudes in for free. I said, yeah, okay, sure, I'll give it a shot. So I went backstage. All I had to say, I mean, these are rock stars, right? Rock and rollers. All I had to say was, goth girls, cannabis cup. Boom. Guys are like, fuck yeah, we'll go. Let's do this thing, right? So we went to this party after the show, and it was wild, man. They had servers walking around with trays full of rolled joints and hash cookies and stuff like that. And they just walk up to you and be like, here you go. And I was like, well, how much is this? And she's like, oh, here you go. So, of course, I've got like joints between all my fingers and I'm balancing brownies under my armpit, right? I'm like, okay, woo, you know. I went to the bar and I'm like, yeah, I'd like I don't know, what do you got? You got beer? She's like, no, we're out of beer. I'm like, you got whiskey? She's like, no, we're out of whiskey. I'm like, okay, well, I'll have a rum and Coke. She's like, we don't have any Coke. And I'm like, okay, well, how about you just pour me a rum and Coke, pretend there's Coke in it, and just keep pouring the rum. So I walked away with like a pint of rum, you know, 2 joints behind each ear, fucking fistful of brownies. Ended up partying on the roof with a bunch of like crazy stone stripper chicks on this rooftop patio, getting wasted till like, you know, 6 o'clock in the morning, when finally a cruiser pulls up and starts asking questions. So this is well before they made shit legal, right? about the enormous Colombian cloud just rolling off the rooftop and out of this building. Like, people must have smoked like 50 pounds of fucking weed in this building, and then in the course of the 7 or 8 fucking hours this party was going on, it was utterly crazy, right? So we decided that the band needed to go and get some food and shit, and so we hung out for a bit longer, and the only place open nearby that I could get us into was fucking Jilly's, the strip club in the corner.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, and for whatever weird fucking reason, the lead singer of the band ordered meatloaf at a fucking strip joint. I don't know, man. That just
and then Meatloaf himself showed up, didn't he?
No, the weirdest part is the guy started fucking choking. Like, he literally started choking on this fucking shit because we're fucked. And I'm sitting across the room looking at him, like, is that dude, like, is he coughing or is he? No, he's choking. So I walk over and I don't know. I have first aid training, but when you're not wasted, your medical knowledge comes second to your impulse. So I just kind of picked him up and manhandled him really roughly. And I guess Heimlich worked because he kind of barfed this meatloaf up onto the floor next to the stripper and did not choke to death. So I got to go to an amazing party. I picked up like 4 girls' phone numbers, 2 of which I slept with, 2 of which were too weird to deal with. And got to save a rock star from choking on a meatloaf at a strip club.
Hell
I
yeah.
have to say, it was a pretty good afternoon, all told. Pretty good evening, all told.
Fuck yeah.
And after all that, the guy picked it up and then just ate it. I'll show you meatloaf.
Fuck yeah.
That would have been pretty hardcore, but no, he did not. I mean, I probably would have respected him less if he had, to be fair. But then again, Jilly's is a strange place in the world too. One of my ex-girlfriends who was a pretty serious cyclist chick, if you know what I'm saying. She used to call the place her living room because she hung out there so much, selling drugs and doing strange things. So,
of all places to call your living room.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah.
Paul, you said you had a interaction with that building as well at some point?
What's that?
You had like a story about that building or like a probe or something?
Oh, I did. No, I was just going to say that actually, cause I thought you were talking about Laughing Vikings directly, because the first time I ever did a self-tape with Laughing Vikings, I was just doing my podcast and I forget what happened, but I don't know. The show was sold out. Long story short, it's a small venue, right? And like it gets the most hotbox I've ever seen anything get hotboxed is like at our podcast. And we were smoking some crazy weed, and I think we had some edibles dropped off. Like we always get like people that give us amazing medicated stuff. So we had this one company, Hangry Empanadas, actually dropped some stuff off, and they have medicated, and they're too good, so you just keep eating it. Long story short, I remembered, oh yeah, I have a self-tape and at Laughing Vikings, and it was at like 10:45 because you got Trevor to stick around, and I never met Trevor before, and it was for Star Trek. It was for Star Trek, so I was like, "Oh man, you pulled a favor for me." My agent kept being like, "No, trust me," and she was saying, "You got to go with Lars and stuff." So I'm like, "Okay." So then we ended up doing it, and long story short, I was just so high. There's no punchline. I just remember because from Trevor's point of view, maybe it's a normal story. From my point of view, it's like I didn't realize how high I was until like I was in there, and there's a camera on, and I was like, I might fuck this up. Do you know what I mean? Like
it was
way too high.
To vouch for that. I mean, that's totally true. I just thought by calling it out, it would make it like way more. Like I didn't even know if I calling it out, then the tape couldn't be done after that. Like,
yeah, that's great.
Like we just have to get what we can get. And you kept being like, "Is that a good take?" And I'm like, "I think it's as good as we're gonna get, man."
It's funny that you bring that up because we all go to the same gym, or we were previous to all this. We were members at Hone.
Yeah.
And I think it was the day after, Trev and I were walking back from the gym, and I asked him, I was like, "Oh, how'd the tape go?" And he's like, "Oh, it went great. Paul was like super blasted." I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds about right, Paul." And I think I even said, I think you had messaged me to say that you were on the way from the show, and you might have even mentioned. Natisha said that too. On the way, he's been on the way, and be like, just so you know, I'm pretty high. I'm like, that's totally fine, whatever.
Yeah, I was like, there's like pretty high where you're like, haha, I did it pretty high.
Right.
This was like for the first time, like since high school, you know, like since high school, that like I just want to push that like reverse button. This was a stupid idea. You know, when you smoke weed before class, and then you're sitting in class, and like you smoked 5 minutes before class, and weed peaks at about 15 minutes. So like you're like, okay, I got this, and then you're in class, and you start being like, I'm tripping balls. Like
those early days when like you just started at school and you started smoking as well. So yeah, you're just riding that roller coaster in that wrong class. Oh.
Yeah, and it just feels like intense, and you feel like you're fucking something up, and like that's how I felt. I felt like I was like at school, like I was like, oh no, I'm fucking this up, and I'm thinking my agent's gonna be pissed and shit. Like, why would if I told my agent I got too high to do it, she'd say LOL. That would be the end of it. That would be that text, you know, like. Why would she care? But I don't know.
Well, you definitely
when I first met these guys, we were doing a theater production, and a couple of rehearsals I showed up for, I was coming off of long, like, you know, double shifts, triple shifts, doing enough of certain things, all back and forth, smoking, drinking, railing, whatever. And I show up and it's like, okay, well, today we're going to do a fight scene. So, Bob, do you think you can carry this guy around? And I'm like, well, I've been doing that for 48 hours. I guess I can do it again. You know what I mean? Like, no big deal. But a few times, absolutely, I know exactly what you're saying. It feels like the spotlight's on you, right? You know?
Yeah.
Like in that split second, you're like, oh, I don't know if I can fucking do this, right? You
like,
gotta fall back into your own sort of neutral behaviors at that point.
Totally.
Right?
And the thing is, too, like, I smoke weed every day, but, like, I'm not saying, like, me and Atish are different, and a lot of people are different, but, like, I can't smoke weed and do normal things. When I'm smoking weed, I have to be aware, like, I still get really high. I don't get high where, like, I can manage it. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I haven't left the house in, like, a week and a half, 2 weeks. And that's not so much for just social distancing as it is right now. I'm just getting so stoned all day that I'm legit too scared to be in society. Like, I tried to go for a walk.
That's echoed across a lot of our listeners. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, because I tried to go for a walk like a week and a half ago, and I felt like I was in a movie. My heart started beating. I felt like everyone was looking at me. I didn't know they were doing the pots and pans. So all of a sudden, everybody started going ding, 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 ding. I thought we were fucking about to go Mad Max. I was tripping balls. I was like, I'm not leaving the house anymore. Fuck this.
Smash cut to someone being like, people are fucked. Like, everyone's crazy. What the hell's going on?
Right.
My friend who's a nurse basically said to me, you know, the pots and pans things is nice and all that shit, but I work the night shift.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So I'm and she's like, so I'm getting home from my long shift trying to save people's lives in the hospital and go to bed, and all my idiot neighbors are standing on their balconies banging pots and fucking pans. Yeah. Like, listen, why don't you save your weaponized autism for something that fucking counts? You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ, you know?
I made a post. I made a post the other day, like along the same veins. Like, it was like, I'm all for supporting frontline workers.
Yeah,
like,
me too, 100%.
But, like, my post was like, but you've had time to learn an instrument. You know, like, come out and play a fucking tune or do a harmonica. Like, do something, not just like you bang a pot and pan like a barbarian. Just
yeah.
Like, come on.
It's a bit
like,
archaic.
Like, when does that end? Like,
when does that end?
And then I'm an asshole. I'm an asshole for calling that. Like, if I'm like, oh, fuck you. This is a pandemic, and then now I'm the asshole.
Yeah, just so you know that.
Right. Lars, you were always an asshole. I mean, now you're just advertising.
I mean, everyone is free to do anything they want, and I don't really pass judgment on it. I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of like beneficial things to be doing, you could like up your game a little bit. If all
like, on the news, they like said like, yeah, I love it. They're like, yeah, it's great. Like, the support is awesome. It's like, they have to say that. Like, I'm sure that all the people trying to sleep off their shift are like,
But when
or the answer is we should have been doing this all the time, and we should just do it more, and at different times it's for different people. Like,
that's right.
Yeah.
It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Solidarity for garbage workers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's 10 o'clock at night. Solidarity for, I don't know, sewage maintenance employees.
Yeah.
That guy that
That's a
pulls
good
the dead
point.
rats out of the
A lot of
voice
people.
management trains. Woo! You know?
Right? Yeah.
I saw someone coming out of a Subway the other day, and I was like, Subway is still doing it. Good for them.
Yeah.
They were the first to put up that.
sandwich shop. The Subway
They were the
sandwich
first to
shop
put
in
up
the mini
that
plaza by
glass,
my
yeah.
house. Sorry, Trevor. What was that?
I was like, they're the first to put up that sanitary glass. I remember when our first walk-in restaurants, we were like, "There's a glass here." They have to like.
Yeah.
That's
That's true. They've been
I
saying
want a
that.
sub.
It's sneeze guards everywhere. That's how we get back from this. It's just sneeze guards everywhere. We just have to walk in single tubes and nobody touches anything. Like
That's it. 100%.
Like the cone of seclusion from back in the day on like, what was it? Get Smart, you know?
Right.
We all just wear a plastic bubble on our heads and walk around going, at each other all the time. Great.
Yeah.
It's so funny when you mentioned being super high at that self-tape, Paul, because I was thinking there's no better person to have been your session runner than Trev, because Trev was probably also high. So it just
I always try to show him like borderline like workable. I'm like,
so
that envelope a little bit.
Right. So you're like both relaxed each other. You're like, oh
Yeah.
just so you know I'm high.
Oh, thank
just so
God.
you know I'm high. Oh, good.
Oh, sick. No, that does help a lot for sure.
Right.
I wish when I was tripping out in school, because looking back on it, I realized how many of my teachers were high. I wish one of my teachers would have done me a solid like that. Just looked at me sitting at my desk, red eyes, been like, I know that you're high. I know you're in grade 10, but guess what? It's visual arts and I'm high too. You're like, this teacher's sick.
Oh my.
You know?
Yeah, I was in arts. I'm an artist and art major myself. I caught two of my high school teachers smoking a joint in this alleyway, walking through and it's funny, I was going to blaze one myself, and I ran into these guys, and my one teacher palms the spliff, the classic, like, flips it over in his hand.
Yeah.
So what I did was I wanted to see how long he would act, like how much pain he would go through to pretend he wasn't smoking a doob. So I just stood there and started asking him inane questions. I'm like, so how's it going? How's your wife? Do you know what time it is? And then finally I was like, I think your hand's on fire. Because like the smoke's just leaking out from his fingers, and he's cringing because it's you can do that for a second or two, but then the cherry starts to burn the palm of your hand.
Totally. Yeah.
So finally he just puts his hand behind his back, and I'm like, what was that? And he's like, and he looks at me and goes, Mr. Malcolm, fuck off. And I was like, yes. And then I pulled the blunt out from behind my ear and was like, seriously, man, like, let's be real here.
When we reenact that scene for real in the series, that guy is going to be on fire, but trying to like play it off like it's nothing.
So He's got a fantastic look too. He's a middle-aged, skinny guy with a really big bald head, and he started to sweat and get really intense looking because his hand is burning, right? So he's like, and I'm like, what's wrong?
I'm picturing like Christopher Lloyd, and he's got like a spliff in his hand, and like his lab coat catches on fire, and then he's on fire. He's like, "What are you talking about?"
It was awesome. I also caught one of my science teachers ripping hash, and those vent hoods for the chemical experiments.
Yeah.
The guy gave me a fucking detention, and he totally fucking forgot. Obviously, I know why.
Yeah.
I show up and I walk in, and he bangs his head on the thing, like, doom, trying to get out of it. And he's got the knives in his hand, his little Bunsen burner and shit. He's a science teacher, chemistry teacher, right? I'm like, what's going on, teach? He's like, nothing. Like, it smells kind of interesting in here. You doing some experiments? Can I get extra credit? Let's check it out. He's like, no, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's nothing. I'm like, I don't know. And we had a kind of cool relationship after that because I could show up kind of baked, and he was just like, yeah, I don't give a fuck, man. Like, obviously, we know what's up. Eye to eye. We get each other now,
And now that school is just over Zoom, it'll just be teachers looking at red eyes through Zoom with their kids through Zoom, realizing
Are you
that
high right now? Yeah.
they're like seeing smoke or hearing the bong off.
Yeah, but there's your answer. You just put a magenta filter
Right.
on your fucking camera.
And you're like, no, the whole thing's red. Yeah.
And you just, what do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. It's just a filter. I don't know how to change the filter settings, Teach. I'm sorry. I'm too fucking stupid. You should teach me more.
Filter of my life.
So there you go, kids. There you go, kids. While you're taking your Zoom courses at home, all you have to do to fuck off your teachers is set a filter on your camera and pretend like you can't turn it off.
Yeah, exactly.
It's sort of like when we were kids, and we just pretended we were fucking retarded because we were, and we couldn't turn it off. And they had nothing to say about it because we fucking were.
If there's any audience questions here, we'll take an audience question. Sheps, feel free to type them in, but we will.
Sheps has been on point with some great comments throughout.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
no shout outs though. Yeah. Sorry, they've all been on point though. Thank you.
Sheps, I'm down with that, but you know what? The Subway sandwich in the mini mall near my house,
although yeah,
fucking closed. And so I can't give them the thumbs up you want. I'm not gonna.
Sorry. I thought select locations.
That sandwich artist, he fucked off and he ain't doing shit for me. So I'm not gonna give him any props whatsoever. Zero props.
No props. But we will give props to our listeners. Wherever you're listening or watching this, we thank you. We'd also like to remind you to share this with 3 friends and then force them to share it with 3 more and force them to share it with 3 more. Hit us up on Instagram at 39DD Show, on Facebook as well. Like us, subscribe on YouTube. Fucking do all the things, but share this out.
There's a question.
Yeah. My favorite Subway out order, which is what we just asked, is what my favorite takeout order, go-to order is. It's funny. It's always the same thing. It's the cold cut combo.
Okay.
With bacon. And when they toast it, they got to put onions on first. So the onions are a little bit brown, a little bit.
Right. That's a huge move. I've never thought of that. Have the onions on first so they get a little bit grilled.
Yeah.
Okay, huge.
Pull out like a Quiznos move, like
exactly.
A slow bake on some things. Quiznos was good for that.
Quiznos move and not spending $12 for it.
That's true. Exactly. Although now they're creeping up that chicken teriyaki.
Does Quiznos exist?
Yeah, there's still a one too. I love it. Really? I love Quiznos. I don't know why they got such a hard.
I thought it was done.
No, Quiznos is good. They're just expensive.
It's just it is. But I mean that is Subway is bigger than McDonald's now, right? So it's a tough competitor.
Is it really?
Yeah. Thanks, Jared.
You know.
Thanks, Jared.
My go-to actually, people always find it interesting at Subway. I like the meatball marinara with mozzarella, and I just leave it like that, just straight up. And I don't even need it toasted, nothing, because I kind of like how the bun gets like a bit like the Italian herbs and cheese gets a bit like soggy with the marinara.
Yeah.
And maybe like a bit of mayo, maybe some of the garlic aioli they have, salt and pepper, Parmesan. You know that you can have Parmesan too. A lot of people don't know about
That's
the Parmesan.
Right. They don't know that. That's true.
Yeah, and that's on top. That doesn't count as your cheese. You can always have Parmesan.
Yeah,
you know your rights. Know your rights. When you go to Subway, don't let them play with you. Know your rights. If they say that they're charging extra for extra cheese, call a lawyer. Do not let them play you like that. Know your rights. Parmesan is not extra cheese. They have to.
That sandwich artist, he is not an artist.
Yeah.
You could call a lawyer. You could call a lawyer and spend a lot of money. Or, I mean, really, it's just a guy working a sandwich shop. So take a shit on one of his tables. It's going to be the worst day of his life. That's it. Period.
Yeah, you can do that too. Both options are fine. They're both legal by law.
Probably a hell of a lot more satisfying in the moment too. You know, you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Go ahead.
No, I'm just running my sandwich.
Oh, nice.
It's an Italian BMT without toasted bun on like mozzarella, and you get some sub sauce on there so that like the bread soaks up the sub sauce. Put on whatever kind of like other kind of toppings, like a little bit of black olives, maybe like some of those spinach leaves that they got like tucked under somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And a little mayo, a little light mayo, a little salt and pepper.
Light mayo is a huge move. What does BMT stand for?
Italian BMT? I don't know. It's like it's questionable meat, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Bologna.
I should ask the artist.
Piccoli, Monte something, and Like it's actually names of like weird Italian meats. I actually do.
Yeah,
Kind of
like
like prosciuttos almost. So
mortadella,
if you get them,
bresaola.
yeah.
Yeah, bresaola,
Yeah, exactly.
mortadella.
Oh, snap.
I just don't know what the T is. Bresaola, mortadella.
Let's
He knows the answer.
Reveal the answer.
Sheps knows the answer, so let's bring it out, babe. Bring
Okay,
it
yeah, so
out.
what's the answer?
This is
DMT,
intensifying.
Wait, Lars, do you have a guess?
Probably the most exciting.
Big, meaty, tasty. That can't.
Stop that. Come on.
No. That's my
Oh, wait,
nickname.
I can give you
in high
that right
school.
now. Hang on a second.
That's what people call me.
It's fucking true.
Uh-oh. Big, meaty, tasty.
Just for the record, for all our listeners, it's after the hours, so we are going after hours on this.
Yeah.
Imagery.
We're off the rails now. I would say I've gone through phases in my life. I'm old enough that I've had like 5 to 10 years spans of
Remember
Subway.
the meatball? Remember the meatball stuff from Mr. Sub?
I went through long spans of where meat, like you, Paul, except I always add tons of vegetables, tons of peppers,
For sure.
I usually forego regular lettuce, but if I get spinach, I'm a guac guy. I'll always throw extra guac.
Load it up. You would love a pita. You're
paying for that guac, eh? You're paying for that guac at Subway?
It depends. Not always. It's expensive.
You were flexing. You're flexing for the podcast. You've never done it. You did it one time. You regretted it.
No. I pay for guac, but I prefer not to. I pay for it reluctantly, feeling like I'm.
You guys whopping on guac.
The reluctant guac.
Guac. I'm really smart. I BYOG. I just bring my own avocado.
Your own guac.
Yeah. You gotta roll us to the restaurants with your own guac.
Called pocket guac.
You just walk in with that plastic tray from the top of your blender, you know, full of some ubiquitous sort of green, brown, worried substance. And you're like, yeah, I beat my own G.
It's my pocket guac,
baby.
man.
Pocket
guac. Love it.
Good. I like
Bring
it.
that guac.
I like it.
You know what though I never understood?
Yeah.
I've never understood the fucking tuna sub. And I like tuna.
100.
The thing is, the tuna sub is too much tuna for anyone to really enjoy, I think. You know? Like, even a 6-inch is more tuna than they put it on with a fucking ice cream scoop. You know what I'm saying? Like,
the most serving of all the protein they give, yeah.
I'll make one can of tuna, and that makes like 3 sandwiches. You know what I mean?
I will respectfully
those are serious sandwiches, 3 sandwiches. Whereas like these guys are like, okay,
Lars says 4 on the tuna.
Let's put half a fucking tuna. Let's put half a fucking tuna on this piece of bread and sell it to a guy.
You know what they say?
I've never tried that ever. Just from the look and the smell, my entire life, I'm not doing it. I know that sounds childish.
I think we've all been scarred. I think we've all been scarred from the fish fillet.
Yeah.
McDonald's
I'm not doing
that.
Bottom line is, there's no meat that should be served from an ice cream scoop.
Bingo.
Shouldn't be a thing.
That's like Taco Bell. It's like Taco Bell and the ground meat in a fucking caulking gun.
Paul's about to disagree. Paul disagrees.
I got something for you. And I had to think. I feel like there's even better options, but for now, my first go-to on that is sometimes you go to Chipotle, and Chipotle has like that Cuban-style shredded beef.
Okay.
They're sometimes picking that up in a scoop.
That is good.
And that's
right.
good meat. That's great AB.
Yeah, but I will admit I'm
See, Paul, I think here's the thing. The reason you like the meatball sub on the fresh bread, not toasted, so it kind of gets the sogginess of the marinara sauce.
Correct.
That sogginess, when it is basically mayonnaise and grease, is not nearly as fucking enjoyable, which is why the tuna sub is always pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
Eventually just got this like soggy fish wad that you're kind of chewing on, and I'm not sure if that's okay.
The tuna sandwiches are great for people who want to feel like they're at.
The tuna gets greasy?
Well, Chef's visual of too much tuna is correct.
The only tuna I've ever eaten is just like sushi tuna, and I like that. But the tuna in a can, I can't even think about it. I don't even want to see it.
Well, look, I mean, there's like I said, I make tuna salad sandwiches on a fairly regular basis. They're fine. You just, again, you don't put like, that much tuna on your bread. It's not worth it. You know, just a little bit of tuna, a little bit of cheese, a little bit of lettuce, a little bit of onion, that kind of thing. You know,
Right.
awesome.
All
If
right,
you
folks,
overdo
that's
it,
our
though,
episode. Too much tuna.
too much
Never have
tuna.
too much tuna.
Yeah.
I'm
Can you
the
ever have too
opposite.
much?
I'll put 2 cans of tuna on 1 sandwich.
Yeah, that just sounds like a bad sexual position.
Gonna
Too much
drop that
tuna.
bomb, just boom,
Yeah.
like that.
2 cans of tuna.
2 tunas,
Could you
1
paint,
bun.
Paul? Could you paint that into the orgy, please? Too much tuna. Could you do
Right?
that for me?
Yeah, 2 cans of tuna. Done.
Just
that a
going at
Larson
it,
thing?
just
Like-
banging it. You know.
Chris,
Yes,
are you a tuna fan, or are you?
I always, I think probably, yeah, as a kid, I think it was just around my house. So tuna sandwiches were popular. So it was just.
Yeah,
a go-to.
I mean, I know
my
it's
dad
good
used to
for
make
you.
them.
That's
Yeah.
what Chris is eating right now, actually.
Chris, are you eating a tuna sandwich?
No, I'm eating a block of Parmesan cheese
He's back on the farm.
and some Italian dry sauce.
Oh, nice. That's classic.
You got your own charcuterie board.
He's
Yeah.
making the sandwich in his mouth. He doesn't need bread. One bite
he's
of
washing-
cheese, one bite of meat, and then a little bit of
washing it-
beer for the
Washing it down
wheat.
with the ale.
You're good. Your
Paul-
stomach doesn't know the difference.
Cajun spiced peanuts are my bread.
There
Okay.
you go.
That
Yeah,
works.
fucking right, man. I'm loving
You know.
that.
Paul, we don't have to wrap it up right now, but where's the best place for people to connect with you? Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram. Paul Thompson Comedy on Instagram. That's probably the best way. Yeah.
And also High on Trees. You have a separate Instagram for that as well?
Yeah. It's just hot comedy is the
Hot comedy.
yeah, it's the high end tree.
H-O-T comedy.
Yeah.
We'll link it up in the show notes, but yeah, everyone.
Well, whenever you guys are around doing anything live again, please let me know. I'd love to come down and hang with you, man.
Yeah, well, I was talking to Trevor or Lars. I think I was talking to Lars about it. But yeah, we want to kind of have like a cross thing. We'd love to have you guys on too. Have all three
That
of you.
would be phenomenal. I would love that. I would
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, we'd have a lot of fun with that for
Yeah,
sure.
that'd be
I wanted
wicked.
to ask Bob, have you bounced at a comedy club before?
No.
Have you?
No, I've never worked a comedy club. Thing is, the bouncers at comedy clubs are a very different breed. Like I work in an industry where we usually have to kick the shit out of somebody.
Yeah.
Comedy clubs are usually more like, well, we kind of throw you out.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I wouldn't. I've got the skill set. But usually when you're gonna deploy a 400-pound, 7-foot man, you don't do them for the easy stuff. You pull them in for the hard sells, right?
Right.
So
And
I've worked comedy nights. I've worked comedy nights at other venues where it just so happened to be that night was comedy night. But I've never actually exclusively worked at a comedy club.
I think technically a comedy club bouncer is called a doorman as well. I don't know that they're bouncers.
Well, there's needed
The
needed
differentiation.
bouncers.
Yeah?
The
There's
differentiation between bouncer and doorman is really how you see yourself. It's the same
Yeah.
job. It's just a matter of how you handle it.
Yeah, I've had a few shows where there's been like somebody who played the role of a bouncer, and I guess it is a doorman or whatever. But I was pretty happy that they were there.
Yeah.
'Cause leading up to us being quarantined, like that last weekend of shows, the Friday and the Saturday, both shows, I almost like people tried to fight me on stage. People were so on edge before they cut it off. I had so many
Riled
good-
up.
Yeah, it was crazy, man.
Was that because you were leaning into any, like, were you talking about the current situation or you
Nope.
random?
Nope.
occurrences?
I actually was kind of still am too, making a point to be the one who didn't talk about it because everybody's talking about it. So I was just doing my own thing. It just so happened that people were just in dickhead moods, right? Because the crowds were half
People's
full.
stress levels were so high. Yeah, they couldn't help themselves. It's actually true of
everybody-
anything.
Yeah, everyone had a
Sorry,
chip on
Paul, go
their
ahead.
shoulder. It was interesting. They were either the best audience, because I did 3 shows both nights. They were either the best audience or 95% of the audience was all just like, yeah, we're not supposed to be going out, but we're going out anyway because we need comedy. So they were a good audience. But then every few shows, there was somebody in the audience who just had a chip on their shoulder. It was just like, make me laugh. Like, I don't know. Like they were treating us like weird and just heckling the whole show. And I was just dealing with hecklers and they just were snapping and not understanding how it worked. And yeah, it was like one guy rushed the stage and shit. It was crazy.
Yeah, tell us more about that. I want to hear about the guy who rushed the stage. Like what actually happened?
That was the last show I've done. Last time I did stand up, which is like
that could be the last show of your career. It's like how did he go out? He went out with a bang, almost got the shit beat out of him on stage.
Right. So it was like basically the whole show, this girl was just talking the whole time. She was a real estate agent, Asian girl, fake tits, like Oakville, you know what's up, right? And she was just talking the whole time. And it's one thing to talk and be like, shh, but the whole time too, the bartender was going, shh, shh, shh. And this girl kept talking, but she was more talking down on the comedians. And I don't know.
Obnoxious.
Yeah, and all the comics were kind of just like rolling with it, and she was kind of like, dance for me, monkey. And I was headlining. I was like, when I go on stage, like, we're not doing this at all. So this is kind of a confusing group of friends, but basically there was that girl, and she was with her boyfriend, right? And her boyfriend was like Asian guy as well, and seemed like a smart guy, and out of the whole group, he just seemed like the one that was the most like, had his head screwed on his shoulders. You know what I mean? He was the strongest strain at the dispensary, right? So then there were two other friends, and it was this really, really like hot girl who they kept saying was a sex worker, and she wasn't saying she wasn't, so that would make sense. And then her boyfriend was this guy who's just a classic quintessential like white douchebag, just like, open, like, just like, douchebag guy. And the second I got on stage, exactly. So the second I got on stage, the first thing I did was I just went right in on this girl because she'd been talking the whole time. So I looked at her boyfriend and I was like, you know what's funny about you? I was like, you can't maintain eye contact with me because I'm going to say something and I'm going to be right. And you don't want me to be right? This is what I'm saying in front of the whole audience. And I'm like, I can tell that for once in your life, you picked hot over smart. Because the whole time, this girl's a fucking moron. But you're like, God damn, it's the hottest pussy I ever had a chance with. I'm like, I know that as a fact because I know for sure you guys have been dating for longer than 3 months. And they're like, correct? And he still hasn't introduced you to his parents. And shit got so weird. And everybody started going fucking, because I called them out. And they knew it was right. So then the one guy that had nothing to do with it, the douchey guy, was just like, you need to shut the fuck up. Tell your jokes, little comic. Tell your jokes. He's like, I'm going to fucking beat the shit out of you. He started snapping, which was funny because the other guy didn't do anything that I actually was talking to. He just sat there quiet. The other guy felt the need to stand up for her. So I was saying, like, there's 15 people there. It's not a packed show. And 4 of the other people there are my friends. My boys are who just performed. So in those moments, I'm like, please give me this story, like, so I'm welcoming. Yeah, come to the stage, 100%, let's do it. But, then eventually they just got up and they were just snapping and they were just like, this isn't very funny. And then they left. And then, I had to fucking win over the audience. That was it.
It's like, hey, mad, bro.
You know what happened the night before? The night before, I did a show and it was a packed crowd, okay? And it was a hot crowd. And I got on stage, and the second I got on stage, I'm like kind of peering the room like a fucking quarterback, just like reading the situation. I didn't realize how intensely I do that because I just caught this girl right away in the front row, and I could just tell this girl's gonna puke. She looks like that dizzy look, and she's sitting with her boyfriend, and I'm like, this girl's gonna puke, and I'm like, I'm not continuing until she fucking either does puke, which would be hilarious. And I'm super down for it if she pukes in the middle of the show, or you got to fucking get her out of here because she's too hammered. No, we're fine. And I keep talking about it for 30 seconds. Lo and behold, after 30 seconds, and the crowd's laughing, I'm like, oh, it'd be so, and I keep saying, I love it when people puke. I think it's so funny. Like, that's kind of like the bit that I'm doing. As I'm saying that, the girl does puke. And then immediately falls into the puke. And I was wrong.
First.
It was not funny. And it was not funny at all. Nobody's laughing. Everybody's acting like it's a fucking emergency. So people start freaking out. We need to get her help. And I'm sitting there with the spotlight. Still I have the mic. And the boyfriend's trying to help. Right? And the boyfriend's trying to help. So I say to the boyfriend on the mic, I'm like, yeah, man, you should probably get her out of here. And he goes, you didn't think I think of that? You thought I did it? And he starts yelling. I'm like, all right, cool. So he leaves. And then he has to carry her out like this. And then I'm continuing on with my set while one of the door guys is cleaning up the puke and shit like that, right? And then, yeah, like a fucking true G, I must say, I brought it back. I was smashing. And, yeah.
The old Bill Burr lost the room, brought it back again.
Oh,
you know what's funny? I hear a lot of these stories because I know a lot of guys who are comedians. I mean, obviously, some of you are here right now.
Yeah.
But I hear a lot of these stories from the other side of the fence, like standing on stage doing the shows. And I have the unfortunate effect on people that I draw their attention when I'm in a crowd, you know?
Yeah.
So I was at a comedy show with my ex, and I went to the bathroom. And I got up to go to the bathroom. The bathroom, of course, all the way across the fucking room. So the guy's on stage. He's not doing very great. People are kind of chuckling, like, you know, light laughs. It was okay. But he sees me walk into the bathroom, and he decides this is his opportunity to, you know, to point out someone in the audience and try and make a set piece out of it, you know, a bit, right?
Right.
So he kind of heckles me, like, where are you going there, Giant? Taking the show away, blah, blah, blah. This, I'm like, well, actually, I was just going to go take a piss, man, but that's cool, you know. I'm an easy target, so laugh away. It's fine with me. Ha-ha, right? So I'm sitting at this table, and it turns out this is that's Yuck Yucks down on Richmond. When it was at Richmond. They have all the photographs of comedians by the booths, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just so turned out I was sitting in a booth that had a picture of this guy in it, like front and center, right in the middle of the booth, like right there when you look back against the wall. You know, stage is here, but the award behind him, there he is. 20 years ago, when the motherfucker still had hair.
Right.
So this guy comes down later, and he's walking by after he heckled me for a good fucking 10 minutes about, you know, just going to the bathroom in a bar. I was like, oh, look at the Giant guy, go to the washroom. I was like, yeah, okay, thanks, man. So he walks by. I'm like, hey, I got one question for you. He's like, well, what's that? And I'm like, where the fuck did your hair go? Oh, man. His face drops like stone cold. He's like, what? And I pointed the picture. I'm like, yeah, that's you, right? This guy had hair. Well, you know, was it radiation treatment or something? And he's just like looking at me like, and I'm like, what? It sucks when someone points out your physical deformities, isn't it? Or your uniqueness or whatever, your individuality. So
yeah, uniqueness.
Fuck you. If you're gonna, and that's the thing I've always wanted. If you're gonna heckle someone, that's cool. I don't mind. And the same thing is, I've seen comedians also trash guys in the audience making fun of them and shit like that too, which is amazing. But if you're gonna point someone out who's just at your show, having a good time, not causing a scene, nothing, and you can't even handle someone being like, well, now you're bald. What the fuck? And you get all mad. It's like, he was really pissed off. And luckily I knew the security. That's how I got tickets, right? I know the guy that works there. So he goes and talks to security. He's like, I want you to talk to this guy about his behavior. And the guy looks over, sees that it's me, and says to the guy, there's nothing I can do about his behavior. Like, literally nothing. Like, that guy's behavior is above my pay grade.
Right.
Paul, you're a fantastic guest. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Great app.
Thank you guys. That was a lot of fun.
Some good 420 time, some tokes.
I just want to say, you know, thank you for everyone who came on.
Could we all share one more here before we sign off?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that would be appropriate, yes, in all respects.
Let's do it.
Right here. Happy 420. Across the borders. Oh yeah, Sheps, come on in here. Sheps with the most valuable audience, the MVA award.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
If we could post some of Shep's internet visuals, those are great. If we grab some screen grabs there, they're kind of epic.
Fuck yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much once again for coming to join us here in this happy little place we call 39 Drunken Disorderlies. It's where our minds meet, melt, and merge. And I am so absolutely honored and joyful that we can share this time together every Monday. So once again, prisoners of pandemic, stay happy, stay healthy, stay sane. And I mean, that's it for me. Any closing words, gentlemen?
Oh, it's been beautiful sharing.
Yeah. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay creative. Be creative. There's no excuse not to be creative. If you think that you're not an artist, you're just fucking lazy. Pick up a fucking apple. Here's my tip to everybody. Find an apple, find an object in your house, draw that object, take 2 minutes. 2 minutes and draw that object. Do that every day. And if you think you're not an artist, look at that apple on day 30. You're gonna surprise yourself. You actually are.
Paul, look, I'm working on a horse.
I love it. I love it.
I spy with my little eye every day.
You gotta do it.
Work the imagination.
Yes, sir. Stay creative.